that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country.
Yeah, they're a threat, says the guy with the blood red Nazi background and Marines standing behind him. It's a complete outrage that this is being sanctioned as a White House event. In other words, that this is the approved position of our government. This is truly nuts and threatening to the future of the United States. It's hard to believe he just did that, but he did.
So hard to believe he would do that. Somber tone from Tucker Carlson instead of his usual cackling laughter over dangerous things being said by his president. So Republicans, conservatives, pundits, anybody that's looking to make any kind of their name over this are upset. They're upset about this divisive speech given by President Biden last night. But what they're more upset about is that red backdrop, because that really means a lot. Actually, it does to them. We're going to find out in a second. But let's let Monica Crowley over on Fox News as well continue this ranting and raving, because they all lost their collective minds over it. Let's watch what she had to say.
So laced with ugly and divisive political rhetoric and a backdrop that looked like that.
Well, first of all, the imagery there was almost satanic with that blood red lighting and the two Marines behind him. It was just insane. Look, this was a garbage speech by a garbage president. And the fact he gave this disgusting, dangerous speech at Independence Hall is a sacrilege.
It's a sacrilege at Independence Hall. They named it a word, and then he said something that I don't like, so therefore that word doesn't mean anything anymore. Just want to point out how stupid that point was. I'm sorry. Okay, so there's this whole, it's a Nazi symbolism. It's satanic because people are supposed to care about what red means and behind you. Ben Collins tweeted out, many of the people pulling their hair out all over Twitter. He said Trump forms are absolutely obsessed with the red background lighting tonight. Tonight, Biden transformed them in their eyes. Sundowning guy who can't complete a sentence to omnipotent Satan and or Hitler, depending on which one is worse to them, which is a great point because there'll be many that praise Hitler. Also, there's some prominent ones that also said some things. Ben Shapiro pointed out the red background as well. He got the email. He goes, that was the most demagogic, outrageous, and divisive speech I've ever seen from an American president, because he apparently slept during Trump's 4 years. Joe Biden essentially declared all those who oppose him and his agenda enemies of the republic. Truly shameful. Think about that line. He says Joe Biden essentially declared all those who oppose him and his agenda enemies of the republic. Is that what he said? Anyways, since we're talking about red backgrounds, Truth Tank pointed out something I'm sure millions of people thought right away when they saw this talking point. Red backgrounds. It's almost like red is a lot of times associated with the Republican Party, which is why I understand why they have red backgrounds. So why are they throwing this out there like this is something new? Not only that, because we're talking about Nazis and Satan and all that. How about this from CPAC just last year? There was the shape of the entire effing stage. So Wu-Tang is for the children. This Twitter account pointed out the MAGA Republicans, they're mad at this redlining behind Biden, making them look, as they said, badass, telling the truth about them while they all stood on an actual Nazi symbol at CPAC and spewed their lies. That was actually, I was gonna say that was a big story, but it actually wasn't. It was something else pointed out, and conservatives and Republicans were like, I know. They didn't care. And lastly, Jackson, before I let you in here, we have actual elected representatives from the Republican Party who literally visited a Nazi sympathizer, someone who likes what Hitler was about, a white nationalist. Nick Fuentes, Marjorie Taylor Greene headlined a white supremacist pro-Putin rally with him. That was this year. And also Paul Gosar did the same thing in the same month of this very same year. But they have a problem with a red background. As Biden says, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar are inciting more and more violence within the party that has already attacked the United States Capitol, have threatened to start a civil war, have plotted to kidnap the governor of Michigan. Those guys got sentenced for it. And there was just another one of these January 6th insurrectionists that got sentenced, and his ass was bawling in court. So where's the lie, Jackson?
So basically, again, these people are ridiculous. They're talking about nothing. To watch them again, Joe Biden, obviously the Republican Party, their color's red, the red elephant, we know that. But Joe Biden, what he just did with student debt cancellation, to watch their outrage with it. The reality is that 20 million people's debt is now gone. 10% to 5% on how much they pay for that a month. But what are the Republicans offering in reverse to that? Are they offering cheaper education? No, they're trying to privatize education even more, which just makes it more expensive. They're against marginal steps forward. They're outraged about. You know what I mean? Like the infrastructure bill that Biden got passed, what he just did, the $436 billion bill that Joe Manchin approved of that he got passed. But still, he's getting things passed that have tangible steps forward for people versus a party that actively goes 1,000 steps backwards at 1,000 miles an hour. So again, there are arguments against student debt. What, the inflation? People haven't been paying their student debt for over 2 years now. They never talked about it then. And now they're saying, well, this could make universities raise their prices even more, as if capitalism didn't already do that by itself. So it's really funny it's not funny, but this doesn't have effect for the future. They're just totally losing their future. Because again, what are you offering in return?
They can't talk about that. Exactly. There was a point, and I brought up a million times. I keep the link on my other computer, actually, on bookmarks. There's a story, there's a Republican strategist that says we should not talk about agenda. We should not talk about what we're gonna do. We shouldn't talk about any kind of policies, because what people like now is red meat and culture war issues. We can't campaign on anything. That's why Rick Scott, which we're gonna talk about, also Senator Rick Scott, he pushed back against that and said, we're gonna give some of our agenda items. And he gave some of them, and they sucked, because Republicans know it. He was the dummy who didn't realize that their agenda items suck.